Geneva Thompson is an attorney bridging the areas of environmental and tribal law. As a California state official, she is protecting valuable natural resources and ensuring access for tribal nations throughout the Golden State.
We're in a moment where innovation can thrive, and we can all come together and see how our laws, our policies, our regulations can be utilized in a way that will ensure the health and well-being of this planet. I think tribal nations are at the forefront of that. Osiyo, my name is Geneva E.B. Thompson, and I'm a citizen of the Cherokee Nation and Assistant Secretary for Tribal Affairs for the California Natural Resources Agency. So I was born in Honolulu, Hawaii. My folks were in the military, and so my dad was stationed out there and spent a lot of time in my childhood, either in Honolulu on Oahu or in Monterey, California. We did a lot of volunteer work around beach cleanup, either restoration or picking up garbage. Environmental responsibility was very important for both my parents. Something that my mother, who's a member of the Cherokee Nation as well, worked really hard to instill in all of our kids, that honor and respect of our Cherokee roots and that desire to continue learning and continue reconnecting with the Cherokee Nation. That has helped me as throughout my childhood, moving around everywhere, even though I wasn't in Tahlequah or in Oklahoma, I still had a connection to indigenous communities. After graduating from high school, I went to the University of Utah, where I studied history and political science. I decided to apply for law school, ended up at the University of California. I was particularly interested in UCLA's Critical Race Theories program and Public Interest Law program because those two programs really allowed me to study the intersection of federal Indian law and environmental law. And I knew from the very beginning that that's where I wanted to practice. I started my first year out of school was with a fellowship with OsiyoTV Foundation. And so OsiyoTV Foundation is a Native-led nonprofit that really focused on cultural resource and environmental protection and Chumash ancestral territories. So after my time at OsiyoTV, I worked for the Yurok tribe. I accepted a position as Associate General Counsel. I got to work on a lot of different cultural resource and environmental legal work on behalf of the tribal government, as I got to work with cultural practitioners, fishers, folks who rely on the salmon in the river. So the salmon are a very important species to the Yurok people. It's been told to me that the Yurok people and the salmon have a kind of a coexistence relationship where the salmon need the Yurok people and the Yurok people need the salmon. So we are on the shores of Klamath, which is translated to Klamath River. Here the climate is vastly different depending on what time of day you're on. Early in the morning, you'll see a thick layer of fog coming off of the ocean, and it's just all cool and misty, and that beautiful fog kind of just roaming through the redwood trees. For the Yurok people, the river is significant and important for subsistence and commercial fishing, but it also is the lifeline of all Yurok lifeways. And so natural resources the Yurok people rely on come from the river, or the river serves as the tribe's highway. And so you'll see a lot of folks who, they actually commute via boat up and down the river as the most efficient way to get from one end of the reservation to the other. And it's been that way since time immemorial. Through a lot of different extensive research and working with other tribal nations, we ended up writing a tribal ordinance that codified the rights of Klamath. And so if somebody violated one of those rights of the river itself could be the plaintiff. It could represent itself in tribal court to ensure that its rights were being protected. And I think it's a cool way of really flipping how to use a court system. Because the salmon are such an important species for the Yurok tribe, a lot of the work that I did when I was legal counsel for the tribe was really looking at the harms that the river and the salmon were facing and how to find solutions to those harms. The Klamath dams, there's toxic algae blooms that are on the river, there's drought with low water or warm water, and all of these kind of factors have varying impacts on the salmon. Traditional knowledge that tribes have is so integral and so important to how we look at the management of resources. So early in 2021, Governor Newsom appointed me as the Assistant Secretary for Tribal Affairs for the California Natural Resources Agency. What's really exciting about this position is this, the first time that the California Natural Resources Agency has ever had an Assistant Secretary for Tribal Affairs. It's a very exciting opportunity to step into this new role and really be part of shaping how the agency's tribal affairs program is going to grow and engage with all California Native American tribes. The hope is that as the tribal affairs program grows, we also grow in our co-management agreements and increasing access for California Native American tribes to access state lands and to access the natural cultural resources that are so essential and important to tribes. Having a space where that knowledge, that expertise, that importance is really integrated throughout how we should live within the environment as good stewards, as good members of this planet. I think tribal nations are really the leader in understanding this and have been advocating for living well with the environment in a way the rest of society can learn from and hopefully model moving forward.